What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers are making their way to the Cleveland Browns this weekend, where they will meet Dylan Gabriel, not Joe Flacco, as we discussed yesterday, but there is quarterback news on the Pittsburgh Steelers side that I think we have to talk about to some capacity that mirrors some cornerback news that we have to talk about in some capacity. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of many teams that could be calling the Miami Dolphins, not for Tyreek Hill, for the other guy, and we're diving into what the chances are that the two newest names, one from New York and one from Miami, end up in Pittsburgh. And it's Wednesday, which means what's more likely, as always. It's a beautiful one here in the Berg. I'm excited to dive into it. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling good. The Pittsburgh Penguins got off to a 1-0 record to begin the year. So how can we be anything else other than celebratory? So I'm feeling good. We're midway through, another day closer to week 6 against the Cleveland Browns. I get to go to the facilities tomorrow and Friday. I'm feeling good, feeling excited, my man. So hope you've been having a good day. I know it's been a busy one for you. So happy to be taking this time to be just chatting Steelers, unwinding with it all, explaining it all with you.
I appreciate that. It's always a busy day. I don't think I've had a non-busy day in 10 years. You know, it's all right. That's why that's why we're living life and going through it. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football here. Will Howard, Corey Trice, still not on the practice field for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Does not seem as if they will be on the practice field anytime soon, at least not this week, maybe next week, but on a short week. Is that going to be when you activate or bring them back, open that practice window where you have 21 days to decide if they're going to play when you only have essentially 1 day of practice in that week? Probably not, which means for the next 2 weeks, both of those guys are still not on the field for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's weird with the Corey Trice thing. The Will Howard thing is weird in its own capacity, but you know, you could sit here and talk quarterback and need for it and how urgent it needs to be. The Corey Trice thing is, I mean, he was supposed to be back. We are supposed to see more Corey Trice on the field than we are seeing right now. Dante Kemp, Malik Harrison, all those guys that are also active or ready to be active, not playing, but I think in a less surprise way. I mean, it's Wednesday. We're here. It's not going to happen this week. Are you stunned that neither of these guys are playing?
I am surprised. I am. I'll go as far as to say that I am a little bit stunned. I really did feel like, Will Howard, I guess not so much so, but Corey Trice, I think, has just been progressing so much so and seems to be a necessary part of what the Steelers want to do moving forward, or at least through this like intermediate part of their schedule. So it is strange to see that they haven't really ramped him up further. But that being said, like, do you feel that they are going to be, missing out severely because of it? I don't really think so. I think it would be nice to have Corey Trice back and another healthy player in the secondary, especially, as the Jalen Ramsey injury absence continues to be filled. But with Joey Porter Jr. coming back, that kind of lessens that need to have the next man up mentality. So, unless you feel otherwise, like, while I am stunned and surprised that he hasn't progressed further up until this point, I don't feel discouraged by that reality setting in.
No, I mean, the Will Howard thing, I get. I look at it and say, I still can't get a grip on if the Pittsburgh Steelers want him to be out there, don't want him to be out there, if he just wants to be out there, but the Steelers don't want him to be out there. I have no idea. Well, Corey Trice, I look at it and go, this is Corey Trice's last shot. This is it. This is do or die for Corey Trice. You got this season to prove that you are a good player. Otherwise, next year, they're going to find a replacement. You're not going to get cut before the season starts or before training camp starts. You're just going to get replaced. They're just going to find somebody else, that next young guy, to come in here and be Corey Trice. That's what's going to happen. And to not be maybe healthy enough to be on the field is super concerning. To not want him on the field is equally as concerning. I just look at it and say, The longer we push this thing out, the longer Corey is not open for that practice window, the longer that the Steelers are waiting the 21 days, because they're going to wait most of the 21 days to put Corey Trice back on the active roster. The longer we have to wait for that, the longer this becomes, or the closer this becomes to Corey Trice isn't going to get any shot whatsoever. And they're going to stick with James Pierre, and they're going to stick with Brandon Eccles, and they're going to be totally fine with the package and the guys that they have, and they're going to be ready to move on. And again, we're getting like this is the last ride for Corey Trice to figure this thing out. And I don't know if the Steelers actually want him out there, which is very concerning. Will Howard, again, I bet you that they want him out there, but maybe they don't want him out there bad enough to say Isaiah Loudermilk's probably got to come back. Malik Harrison's got to come back. Corey Trice probably going to come back. That's 3 of your 8, and it's week 6. There are going to be other injuries. You're going to have to put other guys on IR. You're going to have to figure other things out. I just don't. I'm concerned. Do you think that there's a real possibility that Corey actually doesn't come off IR this season?
Yes, absolutely. And I think you are kind of you were walking right down that road into why. Like, there are more important pieces that they have to sort of protect and maybe come back. And when you only have so many designations to return from injured reserve and so many slots to work with, they've been so beaten up already, this defense. They've been battered and bruised through, the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. It's probably going to continue. And I guess right now, whenever Corey Trice is not contributing, has not shown that he can be a long-term contributor to the team as much as we want him to be, and as much as the coaching staff would hope that that potential would turn out to be, he's just not turning out to be that right now. Can't get him on the field. So why waste, this IR slot and rushing him back onto the field whenever it's entirely possible that a starter on defense might go down again in a couple of weeks. And it's entirely possible that, like you mentioned, Malik Harrison's ready to come back soon, or that any other piece down the line gets affected or injured. I'd rather have the opportunity and space to pivot, to have other options than make sure Corey Trice, who is on his last leg here, makes sure he returns. I don't know.
Yeah. No. You're 100% right. I mean, it doesn't even have to be defense. You know what I mean? Calvin Austin's got to end up on IR. That's another guy that you need to bring back. Jalen Ramsey ends up on IR. That's another guy that you got to bring back. Anybody at all on the defensive or the offensive side of the football ends up on IR. They immediately have, if they're a starter, they immediately have more impact than Corey. Corey's the 5th corner on the roster. He's the 5th guy. He is James Pierre's replacement. That's not saying much. Like, that's not a spot that the Steelers are desperate to go out and replace and fill. Like, it's just not. I think there's a real possibility. And I honestly, I think there's a real possibility that we have seen the end of Corey Trice with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is nuts to think about. But I think that possibility is definitely there. And then when it comes again to Will Howard one more time, do you think that he comes back? What's your thoughts on it? Do you think that he's any closer than Corey to coming back? Would you be surprised if Will got activated before Corey?
Not right now. I mean, right now there is, to me, a more tangible hole at QB3 than there is cornerback 5 or defensive back, 7, 8, 9 that gets carried on the roster, right? Like, they seem to have those guys in place even as injuries have been beating them up. It's not really as secure. Logan Woodside's in practice working the 3rd team reps. He's working the scout team stuff. I think I would rather have Will Howard in there, if I'm the coaching staff. And I think if he has healed and reports, as a couple of weeks ago, or that he's been progressing very well and is healthy. So I think it would be maybe ideal and maybe more logical at this point to assume that Will Howard gets activated first if either of them are to be activated anytime soon.
Crazy. It's crazy to think that that's a possibility, but it is there for sure. Let's talk some Steelers trades at a position that I think we've over talked about. It's becoming, I mean, you could tell from the YouTube numbers alone, like the numbers are going dramatically down, and it's because the Steelers have one topic of conversation. It correlates. You know what I mean? You know it all the time. That's the business that we're in. When you watch less and less people watch a video, it's because we're talking about the same topic all the time. And that's where the Steelers are. They're beating a dead horse. but everybody's beating that dead horse all the time, and new names are becoming available. And the newest one, as crazy as it sounds, might be in Miami, because ESPN's Jeremy Fowler suggests that the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins will get some calls from teams interested in wide receiver trades. And those two names are Jalen Waddle and Garrett Wilson. We have shut down Garrett Wilson a number of times. We're going to continue to shut down Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's not going to end up in Pittsburgh. The Steelers are not going to go trade for a guy who does not like Aaron Rodgers, who Aaron Rodgers does not like, who they did not get along as teammates. They did not get along as pass catcher and route runner, or pass catcher and pass thrower. Like, it's just not a match for the Steelers. If it was a different quarterback, it'd be a different situation. And maybe the Jets would be looking to sell, but they probably not, or probably wouldn't sell him to the Steelers in this situation. The Steelers wouldn't even call. Jalen Waddle is an interesting one. Miami is crashing and burning. Mike McDaniels has to be very close to the end of his occupancy in Miami. Tua might not be the answer. Darren Waller might be the answer. Who knows? When you look at the Miami Dolphins right now, and you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you look at what the Steelers need, Jalen Waddle does mix. It does mix into what they are looking for in a wide receiver and what they could use as a wide receiver, what they don't currently have, even with Calvin Austin in a wide receiver. Not super expensive, $20-some million a year, which is a good number to be at for a wide receiver right now. A starter in the NFL. Maybe, just maybe, that's the new name to watch. Is Jalen Waddle a real possibility for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
No, I don't think he's a real possibility. Of these larger names that are going to be thrown into the fire of speculation regarding Steelers trade talks, he's the best option to come along, in recent weeks. If it's not a Jacoby Myers, if it's not a Rashid Shaheed, it's, Jalen Waddle has that star factor that many desire and will continue to desire in that wide receiver 2 position. I sit a little further back on, in those sort of conversations, and I say it to myself, I don't think that star factor is what we need at that wide receiver 2 position. But boy, it would be real nice to see Jalen Waddle just streaking down the field and Aaron Rodgers connecting with him. I love the player. He's got no quarterback help. Even as he said, Tua might not be the answer. He's eating more carbs though, so that's good. That'll protect your brain.
That's true. It's what they say.
That's what they say, because that's true. It's 100% true science fact. Go test it, everybody.
Look it. I'm not going to rule out Jalen Waddle, to be honest with you. Of all the crazy wide receiver trades that we've talked about, I think this one's the actual one that the Steelers would call about. I think it's the only one that actually makes some sense, because Chris Olave, they called in, just running it through it. Chris Olave, they called in, and people will call me crazy, but Steelers have done some crazy things. They looked into Chris Olave. They realized that Chris Olave was going to be too expensive. They looked into Terry McLaurin. And they were willing to trade what needed to be traded for Terry McLaurin. They weren't willing to tell Terry McLaurin that he was wide receiver 1 over DK Metcalf. And Terry McLaurin said, don't trade for me then, because that's not going to happen. They were ready to make that happen too. I think that of all the wide receivers available right now, currently, Jalen Waddle does not have an expensive price tag. He's not going for anything more than a 3rd round pick at most for a trade, and maybe I could see him going for a 4th, to be really honest with you. And I think the Steelers actually have interest in wide receiver. I think they are making phone calls. You said that yourself the other day, that it's hard to believe that they aren't making phone calls. If they just need to be a little bit aggressive, they have the money to pay him. They have the need for it right now. And I bet you Miami does not drive a hard bargain to say, well, we can't win a game at all, even when we're winning, so we might as well hold on to our guys. No, they're going to blow up the whole ship next year. They're going to get rid of everybody they could possibly get rid of and move on. And they do not care about winning this season, because this season's already over. They aren't going to make the playoffs. They don't have a team. They don't have a defense. They don't have an offensive line. They're shortly not going to have a head coach. The head coach doesn't make these decisions anyways. At the end of the day, the owner and the GM do. And they're both looking at it going, we already have to start thinking about next season. We already have to start looking there. I think there's a real possibility Jalen Waddle's like the most realistic. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I'm just saying of all the people we've talked about over the last couple of months, he in my head is the only one that's actually made some sense in terms of it could happen compared to, well, it would be nice to happen. I mean, Chris Olave Terry McLaurin would have been great. That would have been very nice to happen. I think Jalen Waddle is the first guy that I say when you go through the checklist, it kind of fits what the Steelers would be willing to do because they've been more aggressive than usual. And it depends on how active they actually are. But if they're active, I could see it happening. What would you imagine the Jalen Waddle trade goes for?
I mean, you said a minute or two ago that you didn't think Miami would be like too difficult to pry him away from. And did I misinterpret what you said? Because I would say they
unless you feel differently.
I would imagine they would be slightly more not defensive in trade talks, but I think they would have a really high bar there because contrarily to like Tyreek Hill, where like they have no leverage, they have just only the desire to get rid of him, and everyone knows it. Jalen Waddle, you're like, he's 26 years old, he has all this production behind him.
Yeah,
I think you could probably make the argument from the Miami perspective that he is just worth considerably more in a trade. So I would imagine that, this team's absolutely drowning, right? The organization sort of like just struggling to stay afloat. So they aren't holding the best space in terms of leverage, but the one asset they might have is probably what Jalen Waddle, or like, is Jalen Phillips healthy? Does he got ankles working on the other side of the ball? That's probably the only other player, right? So like,
he probably doesn't. What about this one though? What if they said, we don't even need a draft pick, just give us Alex Highsmith? 26-year-old wide receiver. And I'm not anti-Alex Highsmith, but I'm just saying I'm not trading Alex Highsmith for Chris Olave. I'm not trading Alex Highsmith I might trade him for Terry McLaurin, but I'm not trading Alex Highsmith for Rashid Shaheed. I'm not trading Alex Highsmith for, even Tyreek Hill when Tyreek Hill was there. Maybe, just maybe, for Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle in a pick. Jalen Waddle in a sixth.
Jalen, now we're playing Jalen Waddle and a fifth. Jalen Waddle in a fourth, right? Like,
and Jalen Waddle in a fifth, and you give up a seventh.
It's tough.
You have
right?
like 11 picks.
Yeah, right. My hesitancy is, again, it's not in the picks, necessarily. It's the letting go of the Alex Highsmith in that situation where, do I want to? I love Nick Herbig, right? Like, I feel like the All Steelers Talk Network has been, leading the charge of Nick Herbig is an elite player, right? But the depth that you have when you have, Herbig, Watt, Alex Highsmith all available to you, that's championship pieces. I don't want to give that up for Jalen Waddle. I think, and this might be, no offense to my fellow short kings, I'm not a tall guy. I think if they are to trade Alex Highsmith for that wide receiver too, got to be above 6 foot, man. You got to be at least this tall to ride this ride type of thing.
But you have a 6 foot. You have DK Metcalf. He's 11 feet tall, 300 pounds.
But they already have the singular bars. Ends. Stay with me now. They have the singular bars where you have the tallest guys, and then you need someone right in the middle, because Calvin Austin's on the other end. He's your small receiver. That's good. I think you need someone.
Calvin Austin is 4 inches shorter than Jalen Waddle. Minimum 4 inches shorter than Jalen Waddle.
Oh, at least, yeah.
At least. If Jalen Waddle's 5'10", there's not a chance in hell Calvin Austin's clearing 5'6". There's no chance. And Scotty Miller might be 5'6" and a half, So if the heights, all right. I'm just saying, 1,015 yards, 1,356 yards, 1,014 yards. Last year with God knows who was playing quarterback, 744 yards. He's not bad. Pat Freiermuth.
Great
Pat Freiermuth for Jalen Waddle. Pat Freiermuth and a fifth.
See ya.
For Jalen Waddle. Yeah.
Yep.
If they didn't have Darren Waller, man. If they did not have Darren Waller. I mean, and look at, does this change anything in your mind? The last thing, and then we'll go to what's more likely. Does the fact that they have traded all of their good players change anything to you in that? The fact that they have constantly said, you were fantastic, we're moving on. Because they did to the Steelers twice. Jonnu Smith was their leading receiver last season.
Oh,
Jalen
yeah.
Ramsey was their top corner. And they said, both you guys, deuces. Jonnu for a 5th round pick.
Yes. Listen, I hear you. I hear you, man. And it's not that I'm not saying Miami is unwilling to make stupid moves. They are. They do. You know, stupid is as stupid does. But like, I just, but I just think, again, maybe I'm giving them too much credit then in this moment. Maybe I am affording the management and ownership team of the Miami Dolphins, who I just called stupid, too much, in that they have very few assets that they can get any return on or make any sort of positive step moving forward. Jalen Waddle is a player you either try to build around and keep, with your next franchise quarterback, or you try to recoup the best draft pick you can. Getting Alex Highsmith in return, a player who is shortly in line for a raise in a contract and how old is he?
He's only 27.
27. So you'll be paying someone who will be 30, that the whole debate about edge rushers at age 30, right? So how exactly are you moving the franchise forward in that regard? Your point, though, I hear it. I take it because they make dumb moves. They
I was going to
traded
say, I haven't
Jalen and
seen
Jonnu.
anything they've done anything to say that the Miami Dolphins are like, we're focused on making the right decisions for this franchise. They signed Tua to $700 million and then added more money to Tyreek Hill's deal instead of trading him, got rid of their best 2 players and said, yeah, that should be pretty good. That sounds like a good job right there. Thanks, guys. Artie Burns was their starting corner this season. Okay. I don't trust that franchise to do anything except for potentially give up their best player.
A broken clock is right twice a day, is my closing thought about that.
True. It's true. It's true. Maybe it's right on the 3rd round pick that the Steelers will give them. I'm going to keep speaking it into existence because I feel real good about it. All right. That's the Jalen Waddle talk. Let's dive into what's more likely to end our agenda here. You got them today. It's Wednesday, October 8th. I'm pretty pumped for this one. Steelers play the Browns this weekend. Maybe there's a quarterback or wide receiver trade on the horizon. Who knows? I'm just saying. Well, okay, I got one more thought on the Jalen Waddle thing. All right, one more lasting thought here. This is it, okay?
Please, yeah.
This is it. If the Steelers go out on Sunday, DK Metcalf has 85 yards and a touchdown. Scotty Miller has 1 catch for 11 yards. Ben Skoranek has 1 catch for 3 yards. And Roman Wilson has 11 snaps. Okay. The Steelers offense rushes for 3 touchdowns, but like that's it. It's 24-7. Shout out Dylan Gabriel. And the Steelers win, but it's so obvious how bad their wide receiver core is. I'm telling you, I think that moves my needle a little bit. It doesn't have to move yours. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just trying to maybe convince Omar Khan as we sit here. Maybe that's what I'm trying to convince.
Yeah. Listen. Okay. Yes. Let me get into character.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be. They need to go out and make that move. Then I think trying to convince a man who assembled a roster that already included this group that was ill-prepared to deal with an injury is hard to convince that the missing piece that has been missing for 6 months suddenly is now the missing piece that he's been, neglecting to see or glossing over all this time. I agree with you, Omar, a friend of the show, my friend, our buddy.
Good buddy.
Good buddy, good pal. We hang out all the time, and we always go to Eaton Park together.
Yes, sir.
Goodbye. Just putting that out there. I'd love to. And please get Jalen Waddle if that behooves you.
It does. It should.
But I don't know if it'll move. My needle's been moved with. You know what I mean? Like I understand. I agree with you about these needs. I just do not agree that the Steelers' needle is being moved. I do not believe that like Omar Khan's needle is being moved, despite all of the evidence showing him that it should.
I think a good phone call and Joe Flacco ends up in Cincinnati within an hour, so you never know. You never know what's going to happen on Sunday night when Omar's driving home, realizing, damn it, dude, Scotty, I had so much hope for Scotty Miller. I can't let Mike walk in there on Tuesday once again and say, we have all the faith in Roman Wilson, who played 11 snaps. I just can't do it. We got to do something better. So I'm just saying. Just saying. All right. It's What's More Likely Wednesday. Let's dive into it. It's yours this time. I'm excited for them. The Pittsburgh Steelers prepare for the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. They welcome Dylan Gabriel to Acrisure Stadium for the first time in what may be a long career and may be a bad career. On the other side of that, Joe Flacco, shout out to the guy, is set to play the Green Bay Packers. We did not talk about this yesterday. The Green Bay Packers this week for the second time in 2 weeks, and then next week we'll play TJ Watt. I can't think of any worse way to start your career behind the worst offensive line in football. Shout out to Cincinnati Bengals, but that's old news and new news and exciting news. It's What's More Likely. Let's dive into it. Jacob, what do you got?
We've been talking a lot of offense, right? So why not just one more thing before? Well, maybe a couple of more. But the first one I want to ask you, the Steelers historically have great success against the Browns at home.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers owns pretty much all the teams he plays. Success against Cleveland as well.
Yes.
There's some concerns about what the offense will do, but I want to know, in your opinion, is it more likely that this Steelers offense continues the trend of dominating the Browns at home by putting up 40 points or more, or is it more likely that they score 10 or less?
Up 40 or more with ease.
Easy choice.
With Mike Tomlin has like a ridiculous record against the Cleveland Browns at home. It's
something stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like 40-8 or something. Then they tied one time, which was the craziest record ever. And then Aaron Rodgers, I think, is undefeated at home against the Browns, or maybe all time against the Browns. It's his first taste of medicine there. The Steelers kind of figured out how to stop defensive linemen last week against Minnesota that I'm not going to overlook there. I think that's impressive as well. I mean, 40 points without Calvin Austin's rough, man. But if you make a trade for Jaden Waddle, maybe. But I think what's more likely, that or 10. I mean, 40, easy. I'd go 40. I think that's, a large gap, but I'd go 40.
Okay. All right. And then, I lied a minute ago because two more of these are about offense. So here we go with the next one. And
I love it.
We've talked a lot about Roman Wilson. I love to joke. I love to be funny guy. I love to be silly, but I need you to tell me for real and tell us for real.
Yeah.
Is it more likely that Roman Wilson actually is further involved in the offense this weekend and catches more than 3 passes, or is it more likely that he sees the field for less than 10 offensive snaps? Say number 10 again for you.
I hate this one because I like Roman. I want Roman to get an opportunity. Roman's a very nice guy. I enjoy talking to him. I enjoy watching him work. He's always one of the lads off the field. This dude busts his butt. He does. You're saying 3 catches or 10 or less snaps.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're saying. Mm-hmm. We're riding the line there, okay? And I know I'm talking as if I'm going to say 10 snaps, but I'm going 3 catches. I think that Roman might surprise us. Those 3 catches might be like for 7 yards. It might not be a day.
Yep.
But at some point during this game, the Steelers are going to have to make a decision, and that decision is: are we riding the Scotty Miller, Ben Skoranek train to the ground, to the death of us, or are we going to put Roman Wilson on the field? And I like Scotty Miller, and I love Benny Sko. I love Benny Sko, dude. That guy's a beast. I love everything about him. But Roman's going to get some opportunities. He's got to get some opportunities. I'm going Roman, 3 catches. The Browns are going to put 11 people on DK Metcalf. They're going to say, here are 10 guys, go cover him. Miles, rush the quarterback. That's going to be their game plan against the Steelers. And Roman's going to get open. So less than 10 snaps isn't going to happen. I'm going Roman Wilson, and I'm going three receptions. That's more likely.
Incredible. I have Benny Sko Magic Show is something crazy. I saw a TikTok he posted about grounding, why he's barefoot when he warms up before
Yeah,
games.
shout out.
Um, does he know that concrete's underneath the grass?
Dude, who cares, man? Okay,
I'm
who
just
cares?
wondering if he knows that.
You
Yeah,
can,
I get putting, go touch grass is like
I
a real thing.
You want to know
But,
your
like,
assignment for tomorrow when you're at the facility? I need you to
I'm not asking him
videotape
that.
you asking him. No, you're not. You don't have to. You have to say it the same way that you just said it to all of us. Yo, you know that. You know concrete's under there, right? You know that. And put the camera real close to his face and just see what he says back.
Just so different because if I go outside into my backyard, if I go into nature and like my feet touch the grass, that's it, baby.
Dude,
it's just earth and soil. You go into Acrisure Stadium touching grass, my man, you're on top of tons of concrete.
Look at, dude. Look at. I grew up
What
in
are you
Jessup,
grounding
Pennsylvania.
to?
All right, it's a
But
coal
right.
town, which means that it was just grass, soil, and then a bunch of coal mines. It's the same thing. I felt grounded the whole time. I had that electricity going through my body.
I just saw the TikTok and it made me laugh. I'm like, that's just empirically false. But love him, Benny Sko Magic Show. My next one's not about him. And if you do hear this, love you, another good friend of the show, Benny Sko.
Benny Sko, dude. I hope he does. I pray he does.
I don't know if I share that. And moving on, I think maybe the wide receivers might not make up the difference for the Steelers offense. Tight ends probably are going to.
Yeah.
It was all Darnell Washington heavy sets against the Vikings. Gonna see more Jonnu Smith. They're gonna see more Pat Freiermuth in the passing game, maybe it'll just be more Darnell Washington in other ways. Do you think it is more likely, it's a little 3-part here, that Jonnu Smith or Darnell Washington or Pat Freiermuth exceeds 50 receiving yards in this game? Who is more likely to? Not the what's more likely, who is more likely to?
The Browns are historically not great at covering tight ends. It's just something about the Jim Schwartz defense that they are just historically not the greatest at covering tight ends. Pat 50 yards is a lot. For Pat Freiermuth to get 50 yards, he's catching a lot of passes because he's not a 25-yard reception guy. He's a 7 to 12 reception guy. He's a classic tight end. That's what he is. Darnell getting 50 is nuts. Like Darnell getting 50 would be ridiculous. I just don't even know how it would happen. I think Jonnu 50 is a possibility in this one. I do. I think that Jonnu having that breakout crazy, Jonnu's here game is a possibility. This is the first time that the Steelers have a real opportunity to say, this is the guy that we've bragged about for 6 months being our 3 months being our wide receiver 2. Let's see what happens. So what's more likely on this one is Jonnu just off of pure usage and ability. Would I be shocked if it's Pat? No. Would I be hyped if it's Pat? For sure. Would I be the most hyped if it was Darnell making play after play after play? Certainly. I would love Darnell to have a 50-yard game. I think that would be awesome. I'm going to go Jonnu on this one. I think that's my best bet.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see a lot of Darnell run blocking and a lot of Jonnu Smith in the passing game. I got one more for you if we have time.
Hit me with it.
All right. You said, I think it was yesterday during Overreaction Tuesday, my days are blurry, that something about TJ Watt maybe doubling Myles Garrett's production. And I found that to be pretty unlikely when we talked about it, but I think it's also very unlikely that something else I'm going to pose next to it also happens. So I need your input on it. Do you think it is more likely that TJ Watt doubles Myles Garrett's sack total on Sunday? Myles has 1, he has 2. Myles has 2, TJ has 4. Or do you think it's more likely that Dylan Gabriel doubles Aaron Rodgers in touchdown passes?
No chance. No chance in Jalen Waddle not coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's no chance. Dylan Gabriel might throw for 40 yards in this game. If you told me what's more likely, Dylan Gabriel passing for under 100 yards or throwing a touchdown pass, I'd say potentially passing for less than 100 yards. The offensive line's banged up. The Browns offensive line's banged up.
Mhm.
Dylan Gabriel looks fine. He doesn't look bad. Minnesota's defense, a good defense, obviously, but they were weak overseas. Like that's just those games are always, you always pick the team that's been overseas, but at the same time, the team that's been overseas is exhausted. They are not a team at 100% capacity. You had the spark, you couldn't take advantage of it. I think this is home. This is the Browns. This is the AFC North. This is not a trap game. You got Juan Thornhill, who's going to want some revenge because they called him Jog Thornhill, and he's still pissed about that. I mean, the Joey hasn't played in a while. He's going to be running on all cylinders.
Oh man.
I think that I truly think that this is crazy to say, but doubling the sacks. But I think it's like TJ gets 2, Miles gets 1. I think that's what happens. I would go that's more likely than Dylan Gabriel. Doubling Aaron Rodgers' touchdown passes. That would mean that chances are he's got to throw at least 4. And that's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
You know why I think it's actually like for the only chance that I think this could actually occur is if the Steelers run game succeeds and Aaron Rodgers throws for a single touchdown pass, because who else is he going to throw to in this game? But then Dylan Gabriel, like the Browns score 14 points and they're both passing touchdowns in like weird situations. Like that's the only scenario I could see. But yeah, I had to throw it out there, man. Crazy stuff happens in this game. Wanted to see what you thought.
I love it. I hope that it doesn't, to be honest with you. I hope that nothing that we talked about today happens except for the good stuff for the Pittsburgh Steelers and Jalen Waddle ending up in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to keep saying that until I can't say it anymore. All right. With that said, guys, that's everything on our agenda. We're going to start answering all your questions. Toss them in the chat if you got them. We'll get to as many of them as we can. First, a quick word from our boys over at DraftKings. What's up, AST Nation? I've teamed up with DraftKings. The next great touchdown is coming. You can bet on it. And the best way to do so is through DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers who bet $5 get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. With the bye week behind us, now is the time to get in on the action. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen. Then use your bonus bets to stay in on the action and bet DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. And don't worry, if sports betting is not yet available in your state, you're fine. You can still join in on all of the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. New customers who bet $5 get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Sign up using my promo code ALLSteelers and get in on the action only at DraftKings Sportsbook. All righty. Shout out to our super chatters. Shout out to our members. Can't thank you guys enough. Make sure that you're tossing them in the chat. We appreciate you guys as always. We're going to get things kicking here with Justin Gordon. The Steelers can go get a big name guy or no name guy at wide receiver. It doesn't matter if Arthur Smith's offense reverts back to the Matt Canada BS we've seen this year. He has 2 number 1 tight ends with poor production, pressures on Art to make the offense work. I agree that it's on Arthur Smith, but to be honest with you, I think the offense looked really good last week or 2 weeks ago. And I think that there have been 2 games this season where you've went, ooh, Arthur Smith is cooking. Arthur Smith's having a game here. And does it have to continue? For sure. Does it have to happen all the time? 100%. Do I trust it's gonna? No, not entirely. Do I think that if you had a boatload of weapons that it could happen that aren't tight ends? Yeah, for sure. You know, I think having 2 superstar wide receivers and 2 superstar tight ends are 2 different things. However, I think you'd be able to use Jonnu Smith a little bit more than how you are using him. I'm not out on Arthur Smith yet. Would his grade be an A? No, it'd probably be like a C+ this season. Yeah. But I'm not out on him. I still feel as if he's got some potential, and we saw a little bit of it last week.
Yeah. I think I'm souring a little bit on Arthur Smith. But I don't want to like fully go overboard, I guess. I do think a lot. He is accountable for a lot of sort of the shortcomings, but man, I just think that at the heart of all of them, to be very
Mhm.
blunt, is just like the inconsistency at offensive line. I think is where it kind of starts and flows out from. So
Yeah.
Arthur Smith has not really found the best ways to adjust. Shame on him for not being able to do that better with his
Yes.
schemes as an offensive coordinator, but also just sort of like shame on the Steelers for not having the pieces of the foundation built before trying to expand out.
I very much so agree. That's a great point to say that they don't have the pieces to expand out. And Omar Khan's done a lot this season, only to leave there. But again, I do think that
Mhm.
Arthur Smith, I mean, he's done like Arthur Smith did so much with AJ Brown and Corey Davis. Where's Corey Davis today? Not in the NFL.
Mhm.
Like I think the pieces, and don't get me wrong, like Derrick Henry was there. Okay, sounds good. I get that. But Ryan Tannehill was your quarterback. Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers could be a Derrick Henry. I think it could be there. It's not a perfect analogy, but I hear what you're saying. Respect to the
Mhm.
Roonies. What's more likely? Browns win more games than the Steelers lose, or every playoff game we play before the bowl is in Pittsburgh. Old men need a bye week. Steelers get the bye. Or the
Wow.
Browns win more games than the Steelers lose. They'd have to win at least 4 more games this season. At least 4 more games this season. That's a
Yeah.
lot of games.
They have one win.
They
The
have
Browns
one
so
win.
far.
They have one win. They're 1-4.
I don't,
Yeah, right. I
I
think,
don't
and
think
this is
they get
what's more
past
like. It's
4
not,
wins
I don't think they do
at
either.
all.
I don't think they do either. And what if the Steelers lose 6? What if the Steelers
Mhm.
lose 5? That's possibilities.
Oh yeah,
I
I
think
think
it's.
yeah.
I think it's now. It could be the other way around. They could lose 3, and this is almost a lose will lose, because if the Steelers lose 3, the Browns aren't going to win 3 more games. Like maybe not, but maybe. I would say the Steelers have a bye all the way to the Super Bowl, which would be bananas. But it'd be
That's
fun. It'd be fun.
crazy.
Save on travel costs heading to the Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Chris, while I agree adding a wide receiver makes sense, I think an offensive line addition is more important. We live and die by the run game. Solidified offensive line depth is crucial. I don't disagree with this. I don't know if the options are there to do so, but I don't disagree with this. I also very much so like Spencer Anderson. Big fan of Spencer Anderson, but I don't think that he is the only guy that could play across the line. Somebody goes down, Spencer Anderson's in there. I don't think that's a game that you want to be playing. But I also don't think that it's completely out of the question. I don't think that it's the worst. I think it's a good idea to add an offensive lineman. I just don't know if there's one out there.
Yeah, I mean, I know I just said a minute or two ago of like how important it is to, establish and set that foundation concretely to keep that analogy going as best I can. The trade options that we've talked about here that are really realistic are so few, and it's sort of the same. I hate to be I genuinely do hate to be so pessimistic when I point these things out, but I think the view of how important it is to go out and find that player and then go acquire him, that that prioritization is not shared by the management within the Pittsburgh Steelers from what I've gathered, from what I can tell, in the same way that it is prioritized, in our comments, the same way it's prioritized in the conversations you and I have. I
Yeah.
think they see what they have around them as like the group that can get them to that quote unquote next level. They have totally different reasonings for why. I don't necessarily agree, but all of it adds up to me being like, I don't see how they're going to actually make a trade for an offensive lineman that is anything
Yes.
other than, going out and signing someone off of a practice squad. They're not going to go out and trade for, we were messing around talking about the couple of young guys over at Tennessee yesterday, like that. Those trades aren't going to happen. I would
Yeah.
love for them to go get JC Latham. I would love for them to go find another stud, left guard to pair next to Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick and just have a young line that this team believes in and can build around for the next decade. They're going to find those players in the draft next year. They're not going to trade for them this year. It just won't happen.
I agree. I very much so agree. And that's the worst part about you could find talent everywhere. You can't find offensive linemen. There's only a select few of them that are really out there that you have in your favor. Jacob's favorite receiver, my sweet Jacob. By the end of week 7, I will be your favorite wide receiver. I hope so. That's 2 weeks, though. That's 2 weeks before he's your favorite wide receiver. That's a short amount of time. It's a short amount of time. Shout out to Jacob's favorite receivers. This is an awesome name. Fantastic. A part of the picnic pack, even if you're not a part of the picnic pack. My guy. Shout out. Chris. With the height and wingspan of DK and the tight ends that DK and the tight ends have, it must be nice for Rodgers. Jump balls and mismatches on defensive backs should pay dividends as we move forward. Yes, I agree. But Aaron's never been a jump ball, throw it up there kind of guy. He's never been he's pretty strategic with his placement and where he's looking and so on and so forth. He's not a big, I'm going to take some crazy risks. Now, at the end of a half in a Hail Mary, he'll do what needs to be done. And he's as good as it is at it. But he's not I need to drop back and throw it up to DK type situation. That being said, it is nice. The Steelers have size for days. You find yourself in a situation where you do need that Hail Mary. I don't know a team out there that I'm saying, yeah, put Jonnu, Pat Freiermuth, DK deep and just, throw it up, see what happens, and hope that somebody doesn't come down with it. I think that it is very much so, a plus. Do you think that the lack of, because Aaron talked about this today, do you think that the lack of deep passes is something that the Steelers should try to work into their system a little bit more? Or do you find the rhythm of the offense good with where it is?
Yeah, I guess I would just take issue with the statement that there is a rhythm to this offense more than anything. I don't think there is much. I think it's disjointed, not purposefully on different beats, right? I don't think that they are trying to keep opposing defenses on their toes by being so jump starty and stop and start in their offenses. It seems like they are just still trying to piece things together by my estimation. So yeah, I think being able to stretch the field more just would allow them to settle in more on those other possessions and really move the ball down the field, maybe help the run game in that regard. But yeah, I would love to see them add a little bit more to it. I think that's why I look at, you talk about a player like Jalen Waddle or Rashid Shaheed, for example. Those are players who really can go over the middle and get down the field and sort of elevate that deep passing element to the Steelers offense, and something they don't have. A complete offense has all of those elements to it, is the other part here that I'm getting at. In order to go further into the playoffs, to be a true contender, yes, this rhythm, this being able to hunker down and move the ball as needed is really important, but being able to just kind of go over the top when needed and to expose a defensive coverage, which Rodgers is very, very smart and adept at identifying, is going to be a key part for a winning team. So they have to incorporate it somehow. Not sure where it's going to come from, but yes, it's got to be further incorporated.
You know where it's going to come from. You know exactly where it's going to come from.
Down south, down Miami.
Down Miami. That's where it's going to come from. Look at it. I'm just saying, you need an option. There's an option. Bada bing, bada boom. Poke salad, hot take. We don't need no more stinking Jalen's on the team. Also, didn't do the name change because you liked the poke salad history earlier. Shout out to Poke Salad. I think the Steelers need all the Jalen's, dude. Jalen here, Jalen there. I did actually look up Jalen Waddle and was like, I wonder if it's actually Jaden and we're all getting it wrong so that the Steelers don't get another Jalen. It wasn't. It was still Jalen. I knew it was. And I just, you kind of hoped. The Poke Salad story is awesome. Do you know what Poke Salad is?
I always assumed you're pronouncing it wrong.
No, it's not.
I don't know what it is.
you were looking at it like a poke bowl or whatever they're called.
Exactly. Yeah.
No. Poke salad is Down in the South, I guess, I'm guessing South, down in the South, don't remember. It's definitely the South. The poor people used to make this salad from poke leaves that they had to boil because it had to get all the like the toxins and the poisons out of them so that they could eat it. That's what a poke salad is. He dropped that today on the Colin show, which was pretty awesome. Yeah. Shout out to
Thought my
poke
man
salad.
liked poke bowls, and we were just getting it wrong every time.
The whole time you were just like, no, dude. Every time you pronounce this wrong, every single time. And
this is, you are the same human who calls my dad my mom's name and my mom my dad's name
every
almost
time,
every
dude.
single time interchangeably.
I just can't
not
do
that,
it. I'm just
not that my
awful with
parents
names.
have very gender specific names that they go by.
That's a problem, dude. They're too similar. It's too close. I'm bad with names, dude. You're lucky I don't call you one of them. If they're all J's,
Seriously.
you know what I mean? You're lucky I'm not like, what's up? I'm not even gonna say them because I'm not gonna give away your parents' name on the show. But I'm just saying, now you're lucky that you're lucky I'm not tossing you in there. It'd be awful. It'd be awful. I'm just bad with names. I'm all for my whole life, dude. I'll remember a birthday like there's no tomorrow. You give me a cell phone number, got it. Name, awful at names. Shout out to Poke Salad. Chris, hypothetically, if we move Peyton Wilson to be a run stuffing safety, would he be viable there? I always wondered if he could be special. I think Peyton Wilson as a run stuffing safety and not having to play in coverage could work, and he'd be probably pretty good. The problem is that that's just a linebacker, and I think he's very good at linebacker. You know, I don't think Peyton's is like crazy in pass coverage as he wants to, or anybody else wants to make it seem. I think he's really athletic. And I think when he could get that athleticism down, he'll be very special because he'll be faster than everybody on the field. So he'll have better closing speed, which means he can get to ball carriers a lot faster. He'll be able to blitz well. I think he's got to get all that under wraps. He's got to learn how to utilize his athleticism more than just saying, I could cover everybody because I'm as fast as them. No. Learn how to have the craziest closing speed in the NFL. Learn how to beat offensive linemen off the ball so that when you're rushing up the middle, they have no chance whatsoever to get to you. I think when you could do all those things, he's going to be dangerous. Not saying he can't play safety. I think he'd actually be sufficient there. I don't think he'd be special, but I think he'd be sufficient. But most safeties who are bigger move into inside linebacker, not the other way around.
Yeah. You drop him back down Tampa 2 coverage as the safety. Oh my God, you got your target. Bad. You know what I mean? You're done because he just can't. I love Peyton Wilson. Him going 22 miles per hour, whatever he awesome. Did to track down Jordan Addison, insane. It's not that he's not fast enough. He's a very quick defender. I agree with Noah. He may have set the expectation a little too high coming in the way he regarded his pass coverage skills, because he's been tested so far this year, and even last year he was as well, and it wasn't not quite the results you would expect from someone who says they're the best pass coverage linebacker in the world. So
yeah, exactly.
Doesn't make me feel very confident that you could then move him to a further or a heavier pass coverage role and he would succeed.
Yeah, but Chris, I do hear what you're saying, and I like the hypothetical. I think it's there for sure. Lindsay, how much will Jalen Ramsey being out hurt the Steelers defense? I mean, obviously losing Jalen Ramsey is significant, but I think if you were going to lose anybody on this defense, it's a corner, because you didn't even realize Joey Porter wasn't out there. And I'm not saying that you're not going to realize Jalen's out there. I'm just saying that you have the options to replace him. So I think the return of Joey Porter Jr. makes this much easier to fill than if Joey was still out. Then you'd have some serious concern.
Yes, and I will just add one small caveat that if Joey Porter Jr. has plateaued in any way, and I'm not saying that is the case, I'm not predicting that. If he comes out and stumbles, if he comes out and sort of has an underwhelming performance, then I think that question that's being asked suddenly has a very different answer.
Oh, for sure. Very much so, for sure. Will that happen? We'll see. I think this is a great opportunity for Joey to kind of put himself out there and say, I'm as good as I wanted to say I was before Jalen showed up. Speaking of Jalen Ramsey, Cody Silva, hey, no, we seen Ramsey hurt in Dublin, but how do you know Ramsey's hamstring is torn? No one has confirmed it. Rap Sheet hasn't mentioned anything about Ramsey's injury. Tomlin said rehab is going good. Rehab is going good from everything that I have seen and heard. I got the tear from just like talking to sources. Most hamstring injuries are a tear, though. It's almost never a pull. Hamstrings are weird. It's not a significant tear. It's not like a pectoral tear where the whole thing turns bruised and it's awful. But hamstring muscles, when they stretch, they're considered a tear most times. I'm pretty positive. It doesn't make it any more significant or like it doesn't expand the recovery time. This isn't like a completely torn off the bone hamstring. It's just a stretched or pulled hamstring that, they classify as a tear, I guess. I don't know. But I've reported it. Jerry Dulac reported it. It's just the word going around that it was a tear. Again, I expect him to be out 4 weeks. That's my observation on Jalen on when he will come back. Tortellini salad. Any bets for the games tonight or for the game tonight?
Who plays tonight?
Yeah, who plays tonight? That's a good question right there. That is
Do we even cover the NFL?
Dude, that's the problem is that I don't know. Oh, it's tomorrow night. So tomorrow night is Eagles Giants. Just
Eagles. Dart time.
I'll say this. I'm going AJ Brown over. AJ Brown touchdown because him, Saquon, and Jalen Hurts had some big kumbaya for like an hour, and we're all buddy. And you want to know what that means? That means that AJ Brown's going to get the ball 100 times, and that's just what happens. Shout out to wide receivers, man. They always know how to get what they're looking for. Those are my bets tonight. Easy, or tomorrow. Easy. Nate needs more. Oh, you got one?
No.
You're not a betting man.
I was gonna jokingly say put it all on the Giants, and just see if you caught me being facetious or not.
Don't be doing that. Don't be doing that.
Don't bet it all on the ponies.
Nate needs more salad. What's more likely? Steelers draft their next quarterback project this offseason, or they roll with A-Rod, Rudolph, and Howard next year? This is a good what's more likely. This is a very good what's more likely. I think it all depends on how close to Super Bowl they get. I think if the Steelers lose in the first round of the playoffs, Rodgers retires. It's over. This was fun, but it's done. I think they lose in the AFC Championship, or if they lose in the Super Bowl, I don't think Aaron's done. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to say, that's how I'm going out. That close. But, we're good. With the same team coming back and a possibility to use that first round pick on something else. Just saying.
I hear you. I think that's totally fair. Totally fair. I think the further we get into the season, the less I believe that there is any chance Aaron Rodgers plays beyond this season. Not for any, not, he and I do not, it's not like I'm getting this from the source or anything like that. It's just, I do not, I think the idea that he might play beyond this year is helpful to think about and have like a mindset of, and like grasp for the team, rather than being like, yeah, dude, like as soon as like February hits, day after the Super Bowl yearly ends, peace. Like it's like putting in your 2 weeks notice, to me, is how I'm thinking about it. Whereas he's like, things go well, depending on how things shake out, depending on how close we get to the Super Bowl, I might run it back this year. I think he just like doesn't want to admit, because he's having a great time, they could go far. He's gonna hang it up after this year. So I don't think it's likely that he comes back. I don't think it's likely that trio comes back then. And gotta go the other way, because that's the only other option, as per Nate's question.
Gosh. We'll see what happens. Tortellini salad. Damn, I thought it was Thursday. Damn it. Damn it. Shout out Tortellini salad. Bernard Dixon. Do y'all think A-Rod is playing at a high level? I think he's playing at a significantly higher level than PFF wants to give him credit for. Let's start there. Which you want to hear a crazy stat here? Jake Browning's PFF grade from last week when he threw 3 interceptions and got benched and ended his possible whole career was a 30.5. Do you want to know what Aaron Rodgers' grade was from PFF in week 3 against the New England Patriots in a game where he threw a game-winning touchdown and they won the game? 30.4. Are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? It's like, what are we? PFF is such a joke. It's ridiculous. Nobody should follow PFF to any extent whatsoever, but they've gotten so bad. It's crazy. That being said, I think A-Rod's playing at a high level. I don't think he's playing at like A-Rod MVP. This is the craziest thing ever level. But I think A-Rod's playing at a level where he's ripping, smelling salts and throwing 80-yard touchdowns on the money to DK Metcalf and leading the Pittsburgh Steelers to a 3-1 record. You know, I think he's keeping this offense under control. And I think he's playing at a level where things are always manageable. And I think that is significant. It's something the Steelers haven't had in a long time where it's like, okay, you need a drive. Aaron, at least there's belief Aaron could do it, you know? He's shown that he could do it. So do I think he's playing at his greatest? No, but he's Aaron Rodgers. Do I think he's playing well? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think I just like I want to like dig into like the semantics of like what's a high level, because a 41-year-old quarterback coming in here throwing what is he at, like 8 and 3, like eight touchdowns, 3 interceptions through 4 games. The team's 3-1. He's made some like really clutch throws on third downs, on game-winning drives. Like there's a lot to like about what this guy is doing. Is he, he's on pace to have a below average statistical year per Aaron Rodgers standards,
for Aaron Rodgers,
like Noah's getting at, but like that does not mean he's playing at a bad level. No. I'm like right between good and a high level, right? Like it's like very close. And I think because of the curve of him being a 41-year-old quarterback in his 21st NFL year being applied, yeah, my man's playing at a high level.
Yeah, you had the 41-year-old curve with a brand new team, no running game, a bad offensive line, and 1 receiving threat. Yeah, he's doing all right. He's doing all right. David, stats have the Steelers as 30th in average time of possession and 20th in third down conversion, 38%. Concerns on defense getting tired out. Any insight on why the struggles in keeping drives alive? I mean, the lack of running game is the biggest one. You don't have a run game. You can't set yourself up for second and short, third and short to keep those drives alive. Time of possession's nuts, but I also think that I personally think that the New England game swayed that so heavily it was crazy, because it was like 36 minutes to 26 minutes. That's insane. I also think the Jets game was relatively the same. Sometimes it's scoring quicker. Sometimes it's the fact that you can't hold on to the football. But I think a lot are not can't hold on to the football, can't run the football. But I think a lot of this is you are now just establishing a running game, and you need a running game in order to set yourself up for better third down and so on and so forth conversions.
Yep. And I think that goes back to, again, like the offensive line, right? Like there is this, I don't get bogged down in like, okay, they're being out, they're losing the time of possession battle. I'm pretty sure in 3 or 4 games they have lost the possession battle, right? Like, not sure about the Vikings game, but imagine they did as well. And I think that goes back to, again, the offensive line is where, you can't get the running game going and just sort of like wear out an opposing defense, because how long can you sustain that rushing attack, right? Kenny Gainwell runs for 99 yards. Great. Is that sustainable beyond just that game against the Vikings? I don't know. And until they prove that otherwise, like they're going to continue to see lower times of possession. And it also emphasizes this need to have someone who can go down the middle of the field, who can get over the top, because if you're going to have to rely on quick scores and moving the ball within short fields when your defense provides a turnover, you're going to, have to have multiple assets and weapons and different elements to the offense to capitalize on it. So I'm not the time of possession in and of itself is not what bothers me. I think it's just like what they're doing with that time of possession that is a little concerning.
Yes. I very much so agree with that. Maddie, what's your thoughts on the quarterbacks in 2026? Not impressive so far. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think they've looked terrible. There's no getting around it. They just do not look good. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it evolves. John Mateer looks good at times. You know what I'm saying? Just saying what I'm saying. But I truly believe that it's a little early. We'll see how it evolves. Look, maybe the quarterback's just a dying position in sports. Maybe that's where we're at. All I know is Kenny Pickett's going to be available next season if the Steelers need a quarterback. That's all I know. Respect to the Roonies. Nothing is set in stone. Who's running back one at the end of the season?
Jalen.
It's Jalen.
Not Waddle. Jalen Warren.
Jalen Waddle's wide receiver 2B. Shout out Calvin Austin. I think it's Jalen too. I think that Jalen. I think we're riding the high, Kenny. I'm excited to see what Jalen does this weekend. I'm very, very excited to see what Jalen does this weekend. All right, couple more as we wrap this one up. Fruit salad, Steeltown Moonshiner, Lance. So many names here. Lance, shout out my guy. To take after Jacob on a scale of 1 to 10, I give a 0 to Waddle coming to the Steelers. I give a.
It's a 4.
I give a 5 point. I give a 4.5. 4.5. 4.5. On Monday, that might be a 6. Okay. On Monday, it might be a 6. Just saying. Monday, it might be 6. Okay. Steelers fan 8. Overreaction. Missed yesterday's overreaction. Steelers only lose 3 more games this season.
Not an overreaction.
Not an overreaction. I think it's possible. I think you're riding the line there of whew, but I think it's not like Detroit, Buffalo. That might be it. Like that might Green Bay. But that might be, unless you fall for a trap game, those might be the only ones that you are really, really, really dealing with. JJ, where's Jabril Peppers?
Watching.
Just not playing. Just not, yeah. He's just not involved right now. Chuck Clark's playing well. Juan Thornhill played well last week. Deshaun Elliott's back. It's just Jabril's jumping on a moving train, and we'll see how it develops in the next couple of weeks here. Mark, media is downplaying the Steelers, but we beat the Pats and the Vikings, who just beat the number 1 defense with Carson, and Pats beat the Bills. Good wins. I will say that the Patriots win looked great after they beat the Bills. That was like, oh, snap. Okay. Here we go. That is now a quality win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They now have 2 quality wins on the season. They ain't too bad. They ain't too shabby by no means. I do think that, until they beat the Bills, it was just the Patriots. After they beat the Bills, that's the Patriots win right there. Drake May looks pretty all right. Looked pretty all right against Steelers. Maybe it was the beginning of something. We'll see. See what happens. Shout out to Mark. We'll finish off with David. Rank the likeliness. Make the AFC Championship. Have the 1 seed or miss the playoffs.
Miss the playoffs is the least likely, right? Yes. So that's the bottom.
Yes.
1 seed is second for me. Make AFC. I think it's more likely that they make the AFC Championship than they are the number 1 seed in the AFC come postseason time.
Wow. I'm going the 3 is miss the playoffs. 2 is the AFC Championship game. 1 is the 1 seed. I'm not out on the 1 seed. I'm just simply saying you got to win a playoff game before I could say you can win 2. You got to win 1 before you can win 2. That's where I'm at. Cody Silva, Penn State is the Baltimore Ravens. They're significantly worse. Penn State is a troubled place right now, my friends. A troubled place. And respect to the Roonies. Most all-purpose yards, Warren or Kenny G by the end of the season. I'm going Jalen Warren. He's due for. I mean, we could look him up right now. All-purpose yards for Jalen Warren versus Kenny right now. I think Warren's still beating Kenny G where we're at.
I would imagine so because of the receiving yards. that Jaylen Warren
Yeah.
also has. I gotta go Jaylen
That's
as
what
well.
gives it for me. That's what gives it for me. And you could factor in the Kenny's got, where are we at here? Kenny's got 65 receiving yards and 154. So he's got just over 210, 220, 219 yards total. Jaylen, if this loads, has 132 and 141. So he's winning. And I think that by the end of the season, I think the receiving yards are just going to put him over the top. That's where I view.
Yeah,
good old Jaylen Warren.
He's the top running back, even as Kenny Gainwell continues to find an increasing supplementary role.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Kenny G is going to be a good addition to the offense, but I think this is still Jaylen Warren's team. All right, guys. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. With that said, we'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg.